Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Matt Weber. Powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
All right, welcome back to Search Talk Live. I'm your host, Robert O'Haver, along with Matt Weber of Roar Internet Marketing. Roar, Matt, how's it going?
Hey, Robert. I'm doing great, and it's so good to be back in the saddle here at Search Talk Live again. I'm excited. We've got a great show. We've got a great guest, and you may want to mention to folks, you had a pretty darn good reason for missing a couple weeks of the show.
Yeah, I got married.
Yeah, congratulations. That's fantastic. Now, wait a minute. You're going to tell everybody that you got married, and I think a good chunk of our listenership just fell off because you're no longer eligible.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into a long story there. But yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's really terrific.
Thank you. I'm really excited. But Matt, why don't it's been a while since you've told us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the company?
Yeah, fantastic. I'm the CEO of Roar Internet Marketing, and we're a digital marketing firm just outside of Orlando with more than a decade of experience. I'm also the inventor of Smilelytics, which is a new platform that transforms your Google Analytics into fun and memorable photographs. So I'm doing digital marketing for an awfully long time, and been a big fan of yours for a long time, and I was so excited when you invited me the opportunity to co-host the show.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me, Matt. So, yeah, we've been off for a while, but we're back on. We're going to start a continuous cycle of shows once we start booking the guests again. Those of you that are listening for the first time, if you have questions for our guests, you can type in hashtag Search Talk Live, or you can send some emails and we'll forward them on to our guests. You can email us at robert@searchtalklive.com. And or you can follow us on Twitter at Search Talk Live. And Matt, how can they find you on Twitter?
They can find me at Best Web Design FL, at Best Web Design FL.
Nice. All right, so let's get on with the show. Today, our guest, heavy in the paid advertising side, and I'm going to sound like the Hair Club for Men guy. I'm not only he's not only a guest, but I'm a client of his. But our guest today is this co-founder of GeoBid. His name is Sean Duggan. Sean, how's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, excited to be on the show. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, welcome. So, Sean, for our listeners, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the co-founder of GeoBid. We're a retargeting platform for small businesses. We started about 2.5 years ago and have been working with a bunch of different businesses all across the country, or the world, actually. We have clients in Australia, Canada, and the United States. And yeah, we work primarily with small businesses and small business marketing agencies. Like Robert himself is a client, and he's a great client of ours. So yeah, we started 2.5 years ago and been growing strong.
Nice. So yeah. The reason I really wanted to bring you on, Sean, is because there's different areas on the internet that just do not conform to Google or Bing's, guidelines as far as what they'll advertise, whether it be in the healthcare industry or legal field, which brought me to you. What I wanted to discuss with you is, like, there is alternatives. There's it's not just Bing and Google, and I'd like you to touch on that a little bit, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So we built our own display network, and what that means is, instead of just using Google's ad exchange through Adwords or anything like that, we actually go directly through Microsoft and Yahoo and a bunch of other what are called supply partners on the internet to buy ad space. And because we do that, we kind of set our own guidelines of who we can work with. Google does have their guidelines of who can buy certain ad space online through their network, and we abide by those rules. So, for example, healthcare and law firms like dentists and personal injury firms, those are cool. Those are great advertisers of ours. We just exclude them from the Google ad exchange, which is totally fine because we still buy through Yahoo or Microsoft, which has MSN, and a bunch of other premium publishers across the internet.
Very nice. So for the listeners that are kind of new at this, can you explain what what is considered a DSP? So could you explain what a DSP is and how?
Yeah.
Not go into depth, but you know,
Sure.
it's a long story.
Yeah. A little overview. So DSP is a demand side platform, and it pretty much is just a platform that allows advertisers and marketers to buy ad space across the entire internet in real time. And our main product and our only product right now is retargeting. So anyone that goes to your website, once they leave, they can start seeing your ads across the entire internet by our demand side platform.
And from a persuasion standpoint, Sean, why is retargeting so valuable? We were talking before the show how many companies are not using retargeting. Why is it so valuable? Why is it so important?
Yeah, I think it hits the human behavior of how just humans use the internet. No one ever uses the internet in a linear way. Like no one says, I need a dentist. So they go to Google, they find the first dentist, and that's it. And then they call them right away and become a patient. Like that doesn't work. People shop around, they get distracted, and they put things off for a while. So the fact of just humans use the internet in a sporadic way, retargeting helps bring them back to your website by showing them ads across 98% of the internet to get them to come back to your website and hopefully become a conversion, make a purchase, etc. But yeah, it's really super valuable because someone goes to your website for a specific reason. They're probably starting their search on Google or on Yelp if you're a service-based company. They landed on your website, they checked you out, but just weren't ready to make a purchase or become a lead and left. So what are you doing right now to get people back to your website? If you're not doing retargeting, shame. You need to get retargeting going to bring them back to your website to help them out through their customer journey.
Yeah, Robert, you and I spend a lot of time analyzing conversion and landing pages and conversion rate optimization, trying to figure out why didn't people convert. And sometimes the answer is as simple as it just wasn't the right time.
Yeah. And that's a very, very common reason why people just don't convert. They just get distracted. It wasn't the right time, and retargeting helps bring them back and push them further down that funnel.
Yeah, life happens.
Life happens.
I would say, I'd like to add to that. As far as from a branding standpoint, if someone comes to your website, they don't know you from anything. They don't know how big your company is or anything like that. With retargeting, it puts that brand in front of those people, and it really gives them an impression that, wow, these guys are on CNN, or for example, they're not small potatoes, and you can do that with a smaller budget and look like you're a giant company.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have our self-serve platform. It starts at $4 a day, roughly $25 a week. Anyone can get started on that budget really for retargeting. We work with primarily small businesses, so we conform the budget and the services that we offer: free ad design, free pixel onboarding, all the stuff that just takes a manual process. We take that out of the way. We do all that stuff for the small businesses so they can get up and running pretty quick.
Definitely.
That's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about best practices for retargeting, some of the pieces you kind of have to have in place to ensure this is successful. What role does the landing page play in the success of retargeting? You don't really want to just land people back on the same thing they said no to, do you?
Yeah, so it differs by verticals. So, for example, if we're talking about e-commerce, you do want to bring them back to the product what they recently looked at, or a cart. So we found that those two things are very, very valuable landing pages per se to drive someone back to the site to hopefully fill out that purchase and buy that product. If you're a service-based company, we always say put them to more of a landing page based on, for example, some of the services that they may have looked at on your site to get them closer to becoming a lead. It's different for e-commerce and services because e-commerce, they looked at that product, so bring them back to that product. That product is what they looked at. But for services, it's a little bit different. So having a nice dedicated landing page with some clear call to actions and an easy form filler, some way that they can become a lead, that's highly, highly recommended and definitely best practice.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Tell me about the offer, and I'll tell you a little kind of phrase that we use here at Roar, and that is save the bullet pricing for some of our clients. We've all kind of are maybe getting conditioned to the fact that if you put something in the cart, that a bunch of websites, if you don't do the transaction, are going to send you an offer just by the fact. So you then if you're from a pricing model standpoint, if you've given up your best price initially and then you have to give them a discount in order to get them over the finish line, then you could be adversely affecting your margins. Mm-hmm. So we talk a little bit about save a bullet pricing. Maybe your first price has a little bit more in there. Talk about that, and talk about what about for service companies if they've said no to your plumber page. We love to talk about plumbers here in Search Talk Live. Do you have to have a different offer for when they come back if they've said no to something originally?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there's a few factors that can go into that. Just for the very quick and easy example, e-commerce, absolutely. So for example, we have a few e-commerce customers that are running what we call just timeline ads. So for the first day after someone leaves their website, we don't really show them too big of an enticing offer because we know people just get distracted. They might come back anyways, but hopefully this ad can bring them back and make that purchase. And then we change it up. So from a day to 3 days after someone's been to your website, we'll actually start showing them a deal. So it might be 25% off, come back, or free shipping, for example. Free shipping is what we're running from a day to 3 days. And then from 3 days up to 7 days, it's kind of like a lost zone. So we definitely have different creatives that have 25% off and some more enticing deals to get them to come back and make that purchase, because we know that they're less likely to make a purchase if they're in that 3 to 7 days. So it's given an offer to come back. For service, it's a little different. It really depends on your service. If you have like any kind of coupons or anything like that, you could definitely use that in the landing page, but it's not going to play a huge effect in the display ad itself to get them to come back. It's more on the landing page to get them to become a lead. That's where we kind of see the value for service base.
Oh, that is fascinating that your platform allows you to pre-program in those graduated levels of the offer based on the duration from the time they visited the website to the time they're being exposed from the ad. Do I have that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And we also have a few really cool logic pieces in our bidders that control ad frequency as they move across the timeline. Because we see, for example, the first 3 days are the most important for a service-based business. For e-commerce, it's 24 hours are the most important. But we see for service, it's 3 days, and then it kind of really starts to drop off after that. And then we still are buying ad space, closer to the 7 to 10 day time frame. We're just not bidding as aggressively on those ad spaces for various reasons. One, you don't want to overserve your audience, and then two, you don't want to pay a premium for ad space that just might not convert. So we definitely have a bunch of things in place that really make it as most effective as possible for you guys.
And let me get your and Robert's opinion on this too, because the value of retargeting is that you're following an individual. It's not about paying the most for premium inventory. It's really just about finding the right spot, right? Finding the right person. So whether you get him on the USA Today website or whether you get him on a game on his phone, it really doesn't matter, right?
It does. Time matters. Time definitely matters. Yeah. So time is the biggest engagement influencer ever for retargeting. So we see it's kind of almost like it starts at the top left and then really drops down after 3 days to almost close to a minimal engagement level. So we do want to spend more. We bid more aggressively for someone that just left your website. That's the highest intent for them to be like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm already in the zone right now. I'm already in the purchase cycle. Let me just go back and hopefully fill out a form or make that purchase. We see clicks, engagement, conversions happen really within the first 24 hours. So time is very important. So we do bid more aggressively within the first 24 hours and then less aggressively as time goes on, per user and per time. So kind of two cohorts that we look at.
Yeah, you can, I really love, you can get so granular with retargeting. I just, especially from an e-commerce standpoint where someone abandoned the checkout cart, you can hit them all over the place with that product they were just about to buy. And you could, if you tailor that messaging just right, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Really.
Absolutely. Yeah. E-commerce, they see insane results. And yeah, that's absolutely true.
Is retargeting cross-device though, Sean?
Yeah, so we can partner with TapAd, which is they have their own cross-device map, and we just send them our cookies, and then they put it into their device map and can touch people across their devices. So they know exactly, your phone is matched to your computer, your desktop computer is matched to your laptop. They know all that stuff. And so all we do is just send them our cookie base, and then they're able to help us out by reaching across screens. Facebook is also really good at doing this. For Facebook, I mean, they're what are called deterministic for cross-device, meaning that they use your email address since you provide them an email when you log in. So they know exactly what your Facebook on your desktop is different than your Instagram on your mobile. They know exactly who you are in that case. So yeah, absolutely cross-device or retargeting is cross-device.
So Sean, you're saying you send them cookies?
Yeah, so it's all cookie based. For us,
Sorry.
Yeah, chocolate chip is our specialty cookie. Yeah, cookies.
Yeah.
I saw in your literature that you also offer native ads on the platform.
Uh-huh.
What are native ads?
Yeah, great question. So it's just a different ad format that we can buy across the internet. Native ads are different than your banner ads because they look like actual content on a website. They're native to the website. So for example, they'll have like sponsored posts or sponsored stories on MSN or ESPN sites like that have a lot of content articles. It looks just like another article on that page, except it's an ad for your business to bring them back.
And not every platform includes those. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, display is the biggest for retargeting. We're one of the only platforms that self-serve for small businesses that do display, native, and video ads. So video ads are pre-roll, mid-roll, pretty much video ads that play before a video plays on sites like MSN or Yahoo and other sites like that.
Nice. So, what kind of control do you have over what sites your ads can be on?
Yeah, so for retargeting, you kind of it's more of a reactive approach versus proactive because you don't know what websites your customers might go on. That's why you need a massive reach so you can be there whenever they go onto any specific site. You just need to be there. We show you in the platform, we show you all the websites which your ads have been shown on. So you can go back and say, this one has a high CPM, and we actually have a domain blacklist option. So you can take that domain and then put in the blacklist, and that's kind of how you can control it.
Have you seen any trends, though, as it relates to ad formats? Because you're kind of looking at this from 60,000 feet, looking at a bunch of different accounts. Mm-hmm. Do you see any large trends about what ad formats are working better than others? Yeah.
The 970 by 250 is a massive kind of leaderboard ad or billboard ad that MSN buys, Yahoo buys on their homepage. And those have insanely high click-through rates and engagement because they're huge. Like they're massive billboards that are being shown on these premium publishers. You cannot miss them. And they're most of the time they have high viewability rates because they're above content. And so, yeah, the 970 by 250, super, super important to have. And also for a more vertical mindset, the 300 by 600 is kind of like a wide vertical ad that you'd see on the side of MSN or Yahoo or any of those sites like that. I use MSN and Yahoo a lot for an example because they're main publishers of ours, but we also have about 2 million other websites in our network.
Yeah, Robert, that's really interesting because I think you see a lot of literature out there that talks about that the square ads in general are outperforming the other aspect ratios, the 300 by 300, the 250 by 250, and your answer is the opposite of that.
Well, okay, the square ads, the 300 by 250 is the most popular ad space that you're going to buy across the internet. 250 by 250, they're square per se, kind of very rare ad space. But when I say the 970 by 250, it's that huge billboard ad, completely different than that square ad. You're going to get all your main impressions are going to come from your 300 by 250, but the most engaging one that we see that you just gotta have that we always recommend is that 970 by 250.
Yeah, those 250 and by 250, the 300 by 250s, those have more sites that can take those. As far as size wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
what about saturation when you are going to certain sites and they offer, hey, for this opportunity, you're going to be on all of our ad space?
As for in real time?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's we look at a few different reports manually that we look at through our network. We look at viewability, then we look at impression volume per site per page. So we actually do put manual eyes on what websites that we want to include or exclude in our network. We do that manually because there are some major websites out there that are just not really the best quality. Don't want to drop any names, but they're more real estate type websites that get billions of views probably a quarter, and their ad space is at the footer. So we do put eyes on impressions and viewability. And yeah, definitely if we find a site that just has 15 ad spaces on a page, we kind of take that into a different look and see if we want to just include it or exclude it from our network.
Nice. Now, for our listeners, how would you determine the budget for retargeting?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You can start at $25 a week through our platform. It's very simple to get started. However, it all depends on how many people go to your website per month. That's like the golden number. We just recommend, hey, you should budget about $250 a month per 1,000 unique users to your site. So if you get 1,000 people a month to your site on the dot, about $250 would just do great. Conversely, if you get 2,000, you should be looking at $500 a month. You can always tailor it down. That doesn't mean that the more sites you get, the more expensive it is. You can play with it, but if you're just getting started, I would definitely use that $250 per 1,000 unique rule.
Yeah, let's get geeky with the math though, because I think what a lot of people fail to realize is that they already have a sunk cost in that person that you're retargeting.
Yeah,
because you paid for the click, presumably, if it's a paid. And so you kind of have to take that into account when you look at the overall ROI of retargeting, is that not only is it going to come back with a terrific number, but the bigger picture is it affects the ROI of the overall paid spend, because if you skim another 10% of the non-converters and convert them, and you've already paid for them, it has to go back to the ROI of the overall effort. Do you look at it that way, Robert? Do you look at it as holistically that it affects the ROI of the overall campaign in total, not just the retargeting?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but the return is great. So anytime I've ever used retargeting, it's always brought back a great ROI. I mean, I really recommend it for pretty much any business. I mean, obviously, there's a couple out there I wouldn't recommend, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the average ROI that we see through the results, the case studies that we've done through our platform is around a 5x ROI. So that's for every dollar that you spend. On average, our advertisers see about $5 back. We have a few companies that are just total anomalies because they're selling, $600 products on their site, and they're converting sometimes 10 a day, and they're only spending a fraction of that on retargeting. Yeah. So their ROI and ROAS is in the 50s and 75% range or times range. So it's definitely per business is every use case is different. But just what we see, for example, for lawyers, they could be spending $150 per click on a certain vanity keyword, DUI lawyer Phoenix, and they spend a lot of money, per month on that stuff. So if they're spending $50,000 in acquisition, any kind of acquisition campaigns, and they're spending $1,000 on retargeting to bring all that acquisition back, they love it because it's a lot less than what they're paying for other strategies, and they see great value in it and great return.
Yeah.
And Sean, one thing I would like to add to that budget part we were just mentioning, there's also such thing as underfunding your retargeting.
Yeah.
Like you said, it really depends on how many visitors you have to your site. But I've seen where, they're just not getting the impressions because, they've run out of budget for the day or whatever it may be. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, if you take the same methodology of $250 per month per 1,000 users, if you're only spending let's just say you're spending half, so $125 a month is what you're spending, and that's your budget. You're only reaching half the people that are going to your website. So there is a point where you need to look at your budget, make sure that it's ample enough where you're serving throughout the day, you're hitting people enough times per impression. If you have the right platform, for example, we look at that on the back end. We're completely transparent. We can tell you what it is on the front end. We just do all the work for you. So there's no really need. But we're able to see exactly the impression count per user on average that we're hitting. So we know if we need to increase budget or adjust any type of way. But if you definitely under budget and are not hitting 100% of people that are going to your website, your results will suffer.
So how can people get that dollar to go further? What role does segmenting play? Because in truth, maybe not everybody that came to your website and didn't convert is a good prospect.
Right.
How can you slice and dice it via segmenting to make that dollar go further?
Yeah, so there's many ways that we can segment audiences based on, for example, pages that they go to on your site, different events. We can use JavaScript. If someone clicks a button, they can be put into a different segment. They finished a live chat, they can be put into one. So we can cut and dice it at any way that possible that you want. The one best practice that we always say is be mindful of how many unique users you have in your segment. One, you don't want to get too granular where it's too targeted. People don't like highly targeted. People are aware of what retargeting is, and they understand if you go to a website, you're most likely going to see an ad for that business later on. But if it's something where it's a little bit too targeted, you could definitely kind of turn off your audience. Be mindful of the audiences. Don't get too specific with certain ones. But also, you should definitely segment your audiences based on, for example, services that they look at on your site. If you're a plumber, the different services that you offer, they can see different ads, and then that just helps your campaign, down the line as well.
That's key.
And one thing I'd like you to touch on too, Sean, with at least with your platform, the optimization side of things. What does a client do to optimize their campaigns?
Yeah, so pretty much nothing. So we have two different offerings. Yeah, so I mean, we've looked at hundreds and hundreds of campaigns over the last 2.5 years that we've been in business, and we've seen it all, and we pretty much have noticed a bunch of different trends when looking at the data. Since we buy directly and our own DSP, we can take all the data that we can ever imagine, and we've really put together a bunch of different data sets that we know exactly what works and what doesn't for small businesses. And because we're in the small business realm, it's really kind of similar and common per business. However, if you want to optimize your campaign on the front end, you can absolutely do that. You can segment audiences by yourself. You can create your own campaigns. You can do all that. Just know on the back end, we're still working on it with you. And if you're on our managed service plan, we tell you everything that's going on, and it's really, to make sure that you're getting the best value from our product and the most success. Yeah,
I don't want to sound like I'm pushing your business, but also another service that you offer to small businesses. Not a lot of people have a staff of designers and all that stuff. Why don't you tell them about what you offer as far as designing ads for them and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So we give anyone that signs up, we give you 7 free ads. So we'll design pretty much what's called one ad set. So you get one design, same brand across 7 different ad sizes. You get the 970 by 250, the 300 by 250, the 970 by 250. You get all those different ad sizes for free. And then for our managed service, which is just a little bit more, costs a little bit more per month than our self-serve, we'll actually redesign your ads every 6 months. So we're keeping your ads fresh and constantly changing. So you can test different things, and then also so you're not just having the same message out there constantly over and over again. We make sure that you're getting the best value from a design standpoint with our free services.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's always the biggest pain is creating ads. No one wants to do it. And so we kind of we're like, all right, let's just do that for them and make sure that they're getting the best value.
Very cool. Matt, do you have something?
Yeah, let's talk about the ad creative too, because what I love about talking to people in your position is that you see things from that 60,000 point of view.
Yeah.
So you've told us a little bit about ad format, which is awesome. Would not have guessed that, by the way. What about the creative itself? What do you see working in creative? Motion ads? Do you see ads with giant headlines? Do you see ads that are effective with a higher ratio of visual to text? And there's going to be an exception to every rule.
Yeah.
But globally, if you were writing the book on best practice for retargeting ads, what would be in that book?
Yeah, great. So we always, all of our ads, if we create them for you, are HTML5, which is it's actually text and images rendering on a page versus just your image ads. So image ads are PNG or JPEG, just like an image file that you upload. Those can get degraded through the sites that are uploading them. It's an image. Is it really high quality? Most likely not, and they kind of have lower engagement rates. We push HTML5 because if you have they're zip files is what they are. So there's actually text rendering on a page. It's crisp. If you select the whole, try and select the whole ad, actually all the elements will be selectable because they're each individually coming up. So we always say if you're going to do any kind of display, make sure they're HTML5. Animation is great. I wouldn't go too overkill. We haven't dove too much into, hey, what's a 3-second versus a 5-second animation? But the ones that we do test that have animation, we do see a little bit higher of a click-through rate. So I would just say from a top of the funnel or the looking down on creative, definitely HTML5 if you're going to do any kind of ads. Banner Snack is a great platform that you can build HTML5 ads for easy. And then have a little bit of animation and a clear call to action. So the call to action is huge as well. So those kind of three things would get you pretty much 95% there.
So it sounds like the underlying element here is movement works.
Movement definitely works. It captures the eye. When someone's reading an article, they might not even be looking at the peripherals of the ad space. Banner blindness is a very true thing on the internet, especially in 2019. People are just used to just kind of blocking those out mentally. However, if you have a great one is a massive ad size of 970 by 250, they're not going to miss that. And if it's animating, they're going to spend more time on that ad. And then obviously your brand's going to be positively impacted by that. And then hopefully they see that call to action, click on your ad, and then come down to your conversion page and funnel.
Okay, I know you were all thinking it, so I'll be the one that says it. So you told us that size does matter, right? And motion matters.
Those are, yeah, yep.
And what was the tool that you suggested for the creation of banner ads in case anybody in the audience missed it?
Yeah, it's called Banner Snack. It's their banner creator tool. They have their own kind of ad creation and ad serving solution as well. But on that side of the point, we beat them out pretty much every time. So but we still use them for creatives because they have a great creation tool.
Got it.
All right, well, we're talking to Sean Duggan of GeoBid. We got to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about who's influencing the influencers, where we ask Sean who he's following on social media and how he stays on top of what's happening in the retargeting world.
Search Talk Live is sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. Check out robertpalmercompanies.com for more information.
Find the true value of your home when you log on. Homevalue.com.
Get your questions in on Twitter. Type hashtag Search Talk Live and your question. Now back to the show.
All right, guys, we're back. All right. Matt, you want to take it away?
Yeah, let's find out who's influencing the influencers. I'd love to talk to the guests on our show who are already at the height of their occupations and find out who do they follow to figure out what's going on in digital media. So, Sean, who's on your don't miss this person list on Twitter and the rest of social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So one person that I have been following recently, and she has amazing content and really helps for SaaS businesses, is Laura Roeder. I think that's how you pronounce her last name, from Hello Edgar. And they're a social media tool that's great. It's a SaaS business, but she really explains how they're doing lead generation, how they're their business is growing, and it helps me out as well, running a SaaS business, understanding kind of what's the best practices that other people are doing. But yeah, she's definitely top of the list for SaaS. For advertising, Brian O'Kelly he co-founded and was the CEO of AppNexus before they got acquired. And before that, he was the CTO of Right Media. So he pretty much built online advertising like across the world. So he is definitely someone that I follow for kind of what's next to come in digital media and buying ads online.
So on that note, what do you think is next for retargeting? If you had to spin the clock ahead 2 to 3 years, what's going to work better? What are the challenges for retargeting? Give us a little bit of your future, look at the future.
Yeah, I think ad frequency per user, how many times a user sees an ad, is going to, there's already tools that you can use, and we have tools at our disposal that we use to manage ad frequency. But being able to see, and we see this as well, but other platforms don't offer this. But for example, being able to see exactly how many ads to show a user before they stop clicking or converting. We see that data through our end, but there's a lot of platforms out there that kind of are black boxes and don't provide that to their advertisers. And we strongly put effects into the ad frequency per user. Retargeting is a great strategy, and we love it. We built a business around it, but it also can have a negative connotation, a negative effect if you're over serving your audience. So I think ad frequency is going to be a huge thing across, more transparency and having people really tailor in their frequency. I think that's going to be a big thing.
About a year ago, everybody remembers, maybe it was a little more than a year ago, we were all panicking when Apple announced that an ad blocker is going to be built into Safari Mobile. Yeah. And we thought, oh my God, this is going to be game changing.
Yeah.
Have ad blockers been game changing for retargeting?
I think for bigger brands, they definitely see an effect. For us, since we're more on the small business side, it's less of an effect because our advertisers don't really serve that many impressions where it's going to be a huge noticeable amount. Once you go up to the billions of impressions if you're serving, then yeah, you probably see an effect. Mobile has always, it's more, Instagram is our mobile pretty much publisher. They're huge, and that's pretty much where all of our engagement comes through on mobile is Instagram. We do serve mobile ads on our network as well, but it's not really, the engagement is not really as great as on desktop, even though a lot of people consume mobile content, except for Instagram. Instagram's a mobile platform, so if Apple stops Instagram's or Facebook and Instagram's mobile advertising business, yeah, that's going to be a big effect, a big issue. But for right now, it's nothing too crazy that we've seen on our level, at least for small businesses.
So same question as it relates to privacy. Mm-hmm. We're all speculating that more and more privacy regulations are forthcoming. Watching what's happening in the European Union, a lot of people think that's a layup to believe that that's going to happen here in the United States as well. Yeah. So 2 questions. Do the European Union guidelines affect retargeting on your platform? And 2, do you see those same regulations happening in the United States?
Yeah, great question. So we don't use any personally identifiable information. We don't use email addresses. We don't do what's called CRM or email retargeting because emails are personal information. And so then you have started by a bunch of different privacy rules and can get really kind of hairy. Great strategy, but we just, for small businesses, it's not as effective as us putting too much time and effort into it. And we stay out of the EU right now, so we don't serve any ads and we don't do business with any businesses in the EU. Strictly we're still trying to see how it plays out, even though we don't use personally identifiable information, and we're pretty much not on the front end of what they're looking for. If you want to destroy your cookie or do anything like that, we have opt-outs across our entire platform, and also we're a part of the Digital Advertising Alliance, which has that little icon at the top right. You can see exactly why this ad is being served to you and how to opt out. But we just kind of stay out of the EU because we're a startup and don't want to pay that much money for litigation for EU when we don't have any clients over there. So, however, that is going to definitely, I think, come into the US. And I think that's a huge, great step because it doesn't affect us. I mean, we're not doing anything malicious online. We are fully transparent. We have opt-out options everywhere, and we disclose that we use cookies. I think it's more of it's a really good effort to bring that over to the U.S. to kind of clean up the industry and keep the good practices, good businesses that are doing good practice alive, and kind of start moving the ones that are doing kind of shady things away. So yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah, I agree. When you look at the European Union guidelines, it's clear that they felt that retargeting and similar forms of advertising brought benefit, because if you think about what they could have done, they stopped really far short of that, right? Yeah. So, and I look at retargeting, and I think from an age range standpoint, I'll share my experience, and you tell me if yours is the same. It's kind of the older you are, like the 50-plussers may be more likely to see retargeting as an irritant, maybe an invasion of privacy. But I think when you're looking at consumers in that 30 and below, it's a utilitarian value to them, right? I mean, retargeting is putting things in front of them that they have previously expressed a desire for and maybe forgotten. So they look at it as something that is like a function that they would have liked to have done anyway. And here's somebody's providing it in the form of advertising.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, if no one clicked on our ads and no one converted and it brought zero value, we wouldn't be in business and there would be no use for retargeting. That's not the case. People still are using, they're engaging with ads and they're making purchases through ads, and they see value as a consumer for ads that remind them to come back. Frequency plays a big part. They don't want to see too many ads where it gets annoying, but they're fine with retargeting. For the age question, we always say best practice, put a cookie disclaimer on your website. A lot of businesses in the US are starting to do that because they follow the EU rules, but it's not really necessary for every business in the US. But just to let everyone know that goes to your website that, hey, this website uses cookies. If you want to opt out, here are some options. I mean, that's the best way that you can go on an advertiser consumer side or advertiser side to kind of let your customers and consumers know that you are going to be retargeting them once they leave your site. And then if you're running through our network, again, we're part of the Digital Advertising Alliance. So we have the ad choices icon top right, and anyone can click on it, see exactly why the ads can serve to them, how to opt out there. So opt out options everywhere. Definitely a necessary function that we believe. And again, just don't keep it simple. Don't get too creepy with your retargeting. Because
so when does retargeting go wrong? We've made it sound pretty good in this show, and for good reason. Yeah. Robert's having great experience with it. A lot of people great. When does it go wrong? Why does it go wrong?
Frequency. That's the biggest thing. Frequency, and also the types. The creative can be one thing, the type of business, and frequency. So if you have a business that people don't really want that to be following them around the internet, that can be a very wrong thing. There's a lot of, we don't allow, certain websites, inappropriate websites. Obviously, you can't do retargeting through our network. However, there's some sites that might be a little bit too personal that we look at whenever someone signs up for our platform. We look at their website directly and make sure that it abides by. We also have an advertiser guideline. So the transparency in the right website, has to be. You got to have a good website. But frequency is another thing.
For example, if you're a law firm and you don't want to retarget people for divorce.
Yeah, we typically stay away from divorce ads.
Yeah.
And we tell you that too. It's law is the overseeing law category. We allow and we like. It's we kind of handpick which ones that we work with. Robert, your client is great. Personal injury, for example, if someone is in need of an attorney and they're shopping around, and someone that can give value by the attorney helping them with their lives and making it better, we see that as being okay. But for divorce, it's a little different. And just kind of got to be mindful about that.
Be kind of surprising if the spouse saw the ad. The opposite.
Yeah, we don't want them calling us.
All right, so,
and I got to believe that's happened.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, no, we haven't got any calls, but no, yeah, probably.
All right, let's see. We got 10 minutes. Why don't we talk about Believe It or Leave It?
Oh, great. One of our more popular features here on Search Talk Live, Sean, it's Believe It or Leave It, where we're going to present you with 3 statements we found on the internet. So you know it's true. We found it on the internet. And we're going to ask you to tell our audience whether they should believe it or whether they should leave it. And I'm going to lead with the first one is controversial. And I think it's going to be one that we're going to talk about for a few minutes, because the first believe it or leave it is you can see retargeting ads based on conversations you've had in the car or in your house. Believe it or leave it.
Yeah, that's a leave it for now until Jeff Bezos decides to make that thing. But yeah, that's just a very common myth that's out there. But yeah, no, that's not happening right now.
But you know, right now, listening to this show, are people going, wait a minute, let me tell you what happened to me yesterday?
I think it's because people forget what they're doing online, what they're looking at the day before, or maybe 7 days before, and then they remember something, then they see an ad, and because it's a retargeting ad, they just put 2 and 2 together. It's like, yeah, you're thinking about it because you went to their website a couple of days ago, then you just happen to see the ad again. I think that's exactly what happens across. I could be wrong. I think I could be wrong, but I'm not.
Interesting,
Matt,
interesting topic.
I'm going to let you take
Robert?
number 2 because I cannot find my list.
You want me to take number 2?
Yes, please.
Okay, number 2, Sean. When you see an ad for something you've already purchased, there's nothing the advertiser can do to prevent that. Believe it or leave it.
Oh, leave it. Yeah, so you can exclude audiences based on, for example, pages that they visited, or if you can suppress them by, a whole different reasons that you can suppress an audience online. But yeah, leave it. You should definitely be excluding customers that already made a purchase, and yeah, that's a huge reason why people get angry. They're like, I already bought this product, and yeah, you should definitely be suppressing your audiences after they made a conversion.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that for me personally, that's the most annoying part of retargeting. It's like, come on, I just bought this product, and you're running the ad to me again. You know that I bought the product.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just, everyone's got to clean up their campaigns and make sure that they're suppressing the right audiences and controlling frequency.
Now, let me ask you this, your opinion, both of your opinions on this. So what if you're trying to upsell them? Say they bought a gun, for example, and they want, obviously you couldn't retarget that, but
no firearms.
Right. And they wanted a scope for it. Do you know what I'm saying? Upsell?
Yeah, but the category is a little hairy. For those things, we kind of stay away from all kind of firearm-related products. However, for the upsell, just the example, absolutely. If you want to create a different campaign and target someone to upsell them, you can do that by targeting people who have already made a purchase. However, we tell you best practices, don't do that for at least 7 days. That's just what we've seen. You got to give them a cool off period. They just made a purchase. Don't get too, hey, that's a little too aggressive. You can do that, but just be mindful and definitely have a different campaign, not the same creatives.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, last one. Believe it or leave it. In the next year, legislation will happen to force companies to seek a user's permission to retarget them.
Yeah, I believe that one. I think, I think the U.S., maybe in the next few years, I think in the short future, the U.S. is definitely going to start pushing more towards opt-in consent for every type of, they might, because what I've been seeing is right now, cookies in the browsers was considered non-personally identifiable information, but they're trying to make a case that it is. And so because we don't know anything about the user, I think, it's going to stay as non-personally because we don't know anything personally about that person. However, if someone makes a case and litigation does change that, then yeah, you'd have to get opt-in consent for any kind of information you collect from that user when they visit your website. So I believe that one in the short future.
I do too, and I'll be interested to see how they enforce it, because we've all read a lot about what's happening in the European Union, but one perspective we haven't read about is how's the enforcement going? I mean, if you look here in the United States, we haven't been successful in enforcing the no-call list whatsoever on that. Yeah. And so the theory of getting people to opt in is great. I don't think we're enforcing the Can't Spam Act either. So getting people to opt in, great theory. How do you enforce it?
I think it's more enforceable than the phone calls, because it's like, who's making those calls? Like, where are they coming from? What's the incentive? As for retargeting, if you go to someone's website, you know what the business, you know their incentive, you know what they're doing. So I think it might be a little bit more enforceable. It's obviously going to start at the top of the list for, Fortune 500 companies, the biggest websites in the world, and it's going to slowly funnel down to small businesses over years, I think. Just like, GDPR, everyone thought right out the gate on that day, everyone's going to get emails and calls from the government that they're getting sued. And I think we've seen headlines of them going after, obviously, I think Google got a hit over there. I could be wrong. I think someone got a hit. And that's just kind of how it is. I mean, it's these processes that it's not, it's going to take them a long time to start going after everyone. But I think over time, they definitely will. I think, I definitely think it will. And, we're not going to wait until they have to enforce us to change our rules. I mean, we're already looking at what's the best practice for being conscious about this and having, making sure the internet, of how we provide value to the internet, that it's also bringing value to everyone and providing value to the ecosystem, and not just, it being a negative connotation in the internet, because it is a huge, huge valuable part of advertising.
Yeah, we're running out of time, but this may be in the future an element of brand reputation, because how do you feel about a brand when they send you an unsolicited email, right? It causes a kind of an innate sense of distaste, right? I think in the future, that's what you're going to see when the rules come into play about forcing companies to opt in and they violate them. I think it's where brand tarnishing will happen in the future.
I agree.
And if they do, I mean, shame on them. You know what I mean? Like, if they do that, then that's right. That's bad practice, and now you know a little bit more about that brand.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Robert, do we have time to sneak in Search Talk Live tattoo?
Yeah, 1 second though. We are starting to see it some in the browser when you go to a website where it opts you, it asks you, do you want to be cookied or not? Basically.
Yeah, the browser could take over that role of enforcement.
Yeah, Google, I think like a year, maybe a year and a half ago, they did take a pretty big approach to bad ad placements. So kind of pop-up ads and ads that are just totally intrusive. They did clean that up. So they're mindful of good ads. But you also got to know that Google Ad Exchange is a massive part of Google's business. So they got to play in favor of their platform, but also they got to play in favor of their consumers and users as well. And we're all for that. We're for cleaning up the internet and making it just a better place.
Okay. What about this tattoo?
Okay. We end every show, Sean, by asking you for your most concise, most succinct piece of advice as it relates to retargeting. And it's got to be tattooable. And a lot of people don't know that Robert gets these tattoos, which may have been one of the reasons why it made it a little bit harder for him to find a mate. But so what is your shortest, most succinct, tattooable advice here on Search Talk Live? What's your Search Talk Live tattoo?
Yeah, the tattoo would be keep it going.
Oh, kind of a little bit of a double entendre there.
Got to keep it going. You got to trust the process. I've seen so many advertisers turn it off way too soon before they even have a full 30 days of cookie data. And you gotta keep it going.
I like that meaning of it, and keep it going means kind of, don't give up after that initial search result. You've made an investment into it. Keep it going. Find that user downstream, further into the pipeline with retargeting. Keep it going. Keep your marketing going all the way to the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, today, guys, our guest has been Sean Duggan, and want to appreciate you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, if people want to check out your business, your site, your retargeting, and how can they do that?
Yeah, you can go to our website, geobid.com. That's spelled GEOBID.com. Or you can just Google us and find us that way. Sign up at the top right of any page that you land on. Top right says sign up. Fill out your information, and then in the promo box, put in STL for Search Talk Live, and we'll give you $250 of free ads just to get started And yeah,
Wow.
and we'll create the ads for you. We'll help you install your pixel, and yeah, $250 of free ads.
That's
a
a
good
great
way to get
offer.
started.
Yeah.
Gosh.
STL.
STL, guys.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Sean. I really appreciate you being on the show. Great insights you've given us. Matt, did you want to add anything?
No, that was a great show, and I'm a real big believer in retargeting as well. And we got some great basic starting points and good best practices to make sure that everybody listening to the show does it and does it well.
Absolutely. And thanks so much for having me, guys. It's been great.
Absolutely. And Matt, why don't you tell, if someone wants to reach you, how can they get a hold of you?
They can find us at roarontheweb.com.
And are you on Twitter?
We are on Twitter at bestwebdesignfl.com or at bestwebdesignfl. And also you can find our cool new product Smilelytics at smilelytics.com. And that's SMYLELYTICS, Smilelytics.
Awesome. And I'm at Search Talk Live on Twitter. You guys can type in hashtag Search Talk Live anytime. I'll answer your questions or send
Search Talk Live is sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
We'll be
If you
back
have
on in a
questions
couple
for
weeks
Search
as
Talk
we
Live,
start booking
or
our guests.
you're interested
and
in
I'll be
being
back.
a guest or
Thanks
a
for listening.
sponsor of the show,
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Email Robert at searchtalklive.com. That's searchtalklive.com.